Your first day at a new job, badge photo, laptop login, and a stack of forms nobody reads. Somewhere in that stack is a page with a percentage box and a signature line, the retirement plan election. Most people fill it out in under a minute, between the parking form and the dress code. Here is what almost nobody notices while they are doing it. That one page is probably the largest financial contract of their entire life. Hundreds of thousands of dollars will flow through what that box says. And the deal behind it, the fees, the vesting clock, the tax trade, was never explained to you. Today we read your deal. Start with the single number the fine print hides best. The U.S. Department of Labor's own example: two identical workers, identical savings, 35 years. The only difference: one pays 0.5% in annual fees, the other pays 1.5%. That 1% difference eats 28% of the final balance, not 28% of the fees, 28% of the entire retirement. One invisible number doing 35 years of quiet damage. Where does a deal like that even come from? An accident. Because the strangest thing about the system holding most of America's retirement money is that nobody designed it. Act 1. The accident. In 1978, Congress passed a routine tax bill, the Revenue Act. Buried inside it was a short provision with a bureaucratic name, Section 401, Paragraph K. It was written to settle a narrow dispute about executive deferred compensation. No speeches were given about it. No one called it a retirement revolution. The people who wrote it had no idea they had just written the future of how 100 million Americans would grow old. Then one man read the footnote carefully. In 1980, a benefits consultant named Ted Benna was studying that obscure paragraph for a client and saw something nobody intended. It could let ordinary employees put away pre-tax salary, and employers could sweeten it with a match. He built the first plan around it. The IRS blessed the interpretation in 1981, and corporate America noticed something wonderful. This was dramatically cheaper than funding pensions. Within a generation, the pension, a guaranteed check for life, was nearly extinct, and the accident was the system. So mark the year, 1978. Your retirement system was born as a tax footnote, discovered by accident, and adopted because it was cheap for employers. Even Ted Benna, the man who found it, has spent recent decades publicly worrying about what it became. That is not a reason to avoid your 401k. It is a reason to read the deal, because nobody who designed it was designing it for you. Understand what actually changed when pensions died and the 401k took over, because it is the biggest quiet risk transfer in economic history. Under a pension, your employer promised a check for life and carried the market risk. Under a 401k, you carry everything: the saving decision, the investment decisions, the fees, and the risk of the market crashing the year you turn 64. Professionals used to manage the money. Now the person managing your retirement is whoever filled out that form in under a minute on day one, which is why the fine print matters this much. So let us actually read it, the three clauses that move the most money: the match, the vesting clock, and the tax fork. Act 2, the fine print. Clause 1, the match. A typical deal is 50 cents from your employer for every dollar you contribute, up to 6% of your pay. Hear that correctly. This is not a bonus, and it is not a gift. It is part of your compensation salary. They only pay if you claim it. Contribute below the match cap and you are literally declining part of your own pay every single paycheck. The match is the highest guaranteed return available to most working people, an instant 50% on every matched dollar before the market does anything at all. Clause 2, the handcuffs on that match. Vesting. At many companies, the employer's contributions are not fully yours until you have stayed a set number of years. A common design is a 3-year cliff. Leave at 2 years and 11 months, and every matched dollar evaporates back to the company. Researchers tracking these forfeitures estimate workers walk away from billions in unvested matches every single year, usually without knowing the clock existed, before you ever accept a new job offer. The fine print question is, what does leaving cost me at the vesting date? Clause 3. The tax fork traditional or Roth. Same account, two different deals with the IRS. Traditional, contribute pre-tax, feel richer today, then pay income tax on every withdrawal in retirement and the government eventually forces withdrawals. Roth, pay your tax now, then decades of growth come out tax-free. The honest answer about which wins is, it depends on whether your tax rate is higher now or later. Young and low earning favors Roth, peak earning years favor traditional. The trap is not choosing wrong. The trap is never noticing you chose. And then there is the clause nobody reads because it does not look like a clause. It looks like a percentage with a decimal point, buried in a document called a fee disclosure that arrives once a year and goes straight to the trash. Expense ratios, administration fees, revenue sharing, small numbers, small font, and they compound against you with exactly the same relentless math that compounds for you. Here is the Department of Labor's example again in dollars this time. A worker with $25,000 in her account and 35 years to retirement, averaging 7% returns. If her plan costs 0.5% a year, she retires with about $227,000. Same worker, same market, but in a plan costing 1.5% about $163,000. $64,000 gone, not to a market crash but to a decimal point she never looked up. Your plan's number is in a document you already receive. Almost nobody opens it. Why does 1% do that much damage? Because a fee is not a bite, it is a leak. Every year the fee skims a slice off the top. That slice never grows again, so next year's growth starts from a smaller base which shrinks the following year's growth and on for 35 compounding years. The market's compounding builds your balance. The fee's compounding builds someone else's. Same math, opposite direction. There is one more leak, and it is the biggest one of all, leaving. When workers change jobs, a stunning share of them simply cash out the account. Researchers following job changers have found roughly 40% do it. The bill for that convenience, income tax on the whole amount, plus a 10% early withdrawal penalty, plus every decade of compounding that money will now never do. A $5,000 cash out in your 20s is not $5,000. It is a five-figure hole in your 70s. Roughly 40% of workers cash out retirement savings when they leave a job. Researchers at the University of Colorado tracked it across hundreds of thousands of job separations. Most of those accounts were small, which is exactly the trap. Small enough to feel spendable, young enough that the compounding lost was enormous. The boring alternative, rolling it over and never touching it, is one form, one signature. The gap between those two choices, repeated across a career, is the gap between retiring and not. So that is the deal you signed in under a minute. Now the honest part, what this system still gets right, and how to read your own copy of the contract tonight. Act 3. Reading your deal. First, the honest verdict, because this channel does not do outrage without accounting. For most workers, the 401k flawed origin and all is still the best deal on the table. The match is an instant return nothing else offers. The tax shelter is real. An automatic payroll deduction is the only saving system most humans actually stick with. And the accident story has a second act. Congress has spent decades deliberately expanding and patching the thing it is. An accident that got adopted. The system is not a scam. It is a contract with sharp clauses, written by people who assumed you would never read it. Even the man who found the loophole reads it both ways. Ted Benna, the benefits consultant history calls the father of the 401k, has spent years saying he is proud of what it did for savers. while openly lamenting how complicated and fee-laden it became, saying he had helped open a door for Wall Street to make even more money. When the inventor tells you to watch the fees, watch the fees. So here is the 15-minute audit, 4 questions, all answerable tonight, none of them advice, all of them just reading your own contract. 1. Am I contributing at least to the full match? Below it, you are declining salary. 2. What is my vesting date and what does quitting before it cost? Know the number before any job offer. 3. What is my all-in fee? It is in your plan's annual fee disclosure as a rough compass. Plans exist below 0.5% and above 1%. You are in the expensive tier. 4. If I ever change jobs, roll it, never cash it. 4 answers. That is the entire difference between signing the deal and reading it. A footnote from 1978, a loophole one consultant noticed. A decimal point that can eat 28% of your future, and a contract you can finally say you have read. If you want the machinery of money explained one deal at a time, subscribe. Because next time we read the other number that runs your life. The 3-digit score, invented in 1989, that quietly decides what you pay for everything, your credit score, taken apart gear by gear. See you inside the machine.